Hello and welcome to Portman Road. This sound indicates an important announcement.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to your Monday night's edition of Talking Town Extra Time. I am your host, Martin The Guv Lambert. Do not adjust your screens. It is me, not my younger brother. It is I, despite the youthful looks and the dashing hair and the wonderfully trimmed beard. Thank you very much, Paul the Barbers in Stowmarket. Simply the best barber in Stowmarket. That's not a paid plug. I haven't got to declare that with YouTube. It just is. It's just a fact. It's not even an opinion at this point in time. The queue today at Stowmarket did tell us that. If you got your barnet trim, do let us know in the chat. So on the show are two wonderful people, as you've seen on the intro. First of all, the most important part of the show, as always, is you wonderful people. Colin Plum's in the building. Good evening, Colin. Colin the GOAT, as many people call him. Good evening, Steve. Owen. Good evening, everyone. Got odds of 41 for us. Not scoring between now. Oh, I'll put that to the contributors. Contributors, get thinking, is that a decent bet? 40-1 for us not to score a goal between now and the end of the season. I'd normally say that's silly talk, but with us, I don't know. I've got a few Paul Cook comments from today's press conference to get through that, may illuminate that a little bit more. Callie is talking about that photo that's doing the rounds on social media. I haven't had time to look into it myself. Matt Whiting, number 6, Monday evening TT. Come on, you Blues. Fresh trim. Luke Penning started his new job today, so a round of applause for Mr. Penning. Congratulations. I hope it all went well and everything went accordingly. John Abbott, the opening tune is Release the Beat by Kilrude. If you tell me it is, I believe it is so. Was that some sort of app that told you that? I mean, even I made the app. Made the app. I wish I wouldn't be saying it talking to you for a start if I did. No offense. I'd be on a beach somewhere with nice golden sand and fresh blue water. But no, even I made it, and I can't quite remember it. Anyway, Daniel Barnard. Dylan scores the 90th minute. Dan, which dream were you talking about there? Because there's not a chance in hell Dylan scoring between now and the end of the season, that's for sure. On today's show, as always, first of all, is our resident Queen of Hearts. Amy, welcome in. I was just taking a drink of water and then Dan puts his reply in the chat and I've nearly spit it all over the screen. Dan, it's not even gone 9 o'clock yet, mate. Colin, GOAT, cheers for that, Gov. Amy, how are we doing?
I'm all good, thank you. Just about over my hangover from last week.
Yeah, well, this is it. There's a couple of things we've got to get through before we bring in Peaky. First of all, tell the viewers at home why they can hear you so crystally clearer today than maybe the last time you were on. What happened there, Amy? Because last time you tried to have the headset you've got now on the show and it didn't quite work. Why was that?
You dropped me in it, hadn't you?
I
was having a look. I was having a look at all the settings. I jumped on at like 8:10 because I wanted to see if I can get these flipping. I've got these really nice set of headphones that I've had for ages, and I was like, right, I want to be able to hear you guys properly because I've got the boys upstairs, literally above me. So I have to be careful not to be too loud when I'm talking. Luke always comes in and shushes me. So I was having a look at the settings. And nothing I was doing was showing any noise. And then Luke came over and he said, "You haven't switched them off, have you?" And I was like, oh, what I hadn't realised is that there is a button which had indeed been switched off. So for weeks, I've been trying to get those to work. Luke says I need a man to fix it.
And you were sober, weren't you, that time on the show?
Oh, yeah, very.
So you can't even blame that. Stephen Parry said the Queen of Vodka. I like that. That might stick. The Queen of Vodka. I do like that. I do like that a lot.
Wine, surely.
Talking of which, last week you were on with the Takeover special. Some very special people that now own the football club did tell me that they did enjoy your performance last week, Amy. They did enjoy it. You were certainly a hot topic in my inbox.
Most people do like drunken Amy better than sensible Amy, so maybe she'll show up a bit more often. I was enjoying myself very much. It was good. It was a good party last week, and there might be some people on who were, thank you, Lewis, who were with me pre and post a show. We had a special Zoom call with a few of us chatting into the late hours of the night, all about everything that was going on and talking about next season and just anything and everything, and it was wonderful. It was just like being in the pub.
Towards the end of that video or end of last week's show, you do realise you were drinking nothing, so you were drinking out of an empty glass.
I think I kept wondering if I had anything left in my wine glass, but by that point I'd got the Jaeger, so I was like sipping on that as well.
There's clear video proof of you drinking nothing. So you're literally so far gone. You're at that point where you either go for the kebab or you go home. You were there, and it was only like 9:15, and it was hilarious. But yes, many people did enjoy that. Colin Plum loved you last week, Amy, a Google user. And the morning after thing is the same as Saturday after a town game. Yes, how did you feel the morning after? Just we've been marking.
Let's just say I didn't get up in time to drop the boys off at. Did James have nursery that morning? Oh no, Luke had to go to a funeral, and I literally rolled out of bed just as he was leaving, so that somebody was there to look after the kids.
What a supportive wife! Good luck today, love. Vast paracetamol. Elliot Leader, surely you can get an alcohol company to sponsor the show. Particularly Amy. God, you're missing the trick. Yeah, and Aspels, she loves a bit of you. Hit us up. Right, we have on our wheel, before I bring in Mark, and what has been described as BAFTA award-winning introduction. It truly is. It's a Martin Scorsese masterpiece.
Oh, exciting.
It's a Martin Lambert masterpiece. But on our wheel, we've got the Paul Cook press conference and a couple of comments. AFC Wimbledon thoughts. We've got the Arizona PRS, and over $700 million in cash tweet. I have got some things to say about that. James Norwood is on the wheel. Is there anything else on tonight's show that you guys and girls, and Amy, have a think yourself, want on the wheel? Let me know in the chat. As always, there'll be a live link for you to have your say as well. But is there anything I've not mentioned that you want discussed? It's your club, it's your show. Let me know through this absolute masterpiece. resident Peaky blinder, Mark Tuxford. Welcome in, Mr. Tuxford. How you doing?
Hello, guys. How are you? You right?
Absolutely. Whenever anyone says, why do we do that intro for Peaky? Because we can, all right? Because we can. And if we can, we do. How you been since the last time you were on the show then, Mark? It's a lot's changed in the landscape of Ipswich Town Football Club.
Yeah, I think since I've last been on the pod, I think we've had a takeover. It's been pretty nice, really. It's been nice to have a bit of positivity across the Twitter and just amongst the fans, really, because we've been so used to a bit of whole lot of negativity and the club not going in a direction. And finally, I think we've got some sort of a bit of a strategy going on, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's nice. And before we do touch on the more positive aspects, we did have to sit through 2 0-0 ball draws, and they were ball draws because there wasn't even a single shot on target from our Leicester Super Blues. What are your thoughts from particularly MK Dons, Peaky?
I think it's the fact that we can't score goals is really the main issue, and obviously Paul Cook has been saying that a lot. And I just don't understand how we can't put these chances away, because they are golden opportunities at the end of the day. Freddie Sears at the end, all he had to do was dink it over the goalkeeper, 1-0, happy days. But you'd expect that from like a youngster, like maybe a Tyree Simpson who's just coming in and a bit nervous or whatever. But this is a seasoned professional. It's just Freddie Sears, for Christ's sake, So we've got to get better than that. And I don't know what they're doing on the training ground, but they can't hit anything at the moment. I don't know why.
They can't hit a barn door with a machine gun, Amy, can they?
No, it's scary, isn't it? And Sears, there was a couple of absolute clear-cut chances. I don't understand how he didn't get on the scoreboard on Saturday. It was very. Perhaps it is a sign of where he is nowadays, which is a bit of a shame. But I mean, worth remembering, he hasn't been playing very much recently, that wasn't a fitness thing. That was a inaccuracy thing, wasn't it? And he's
Freddie Sears thing.
He should be good. Exactly. Bless him. I think he should have enough quality to be able to score in this league. He does. It just seems to have gone since that big injury. Bless him.
Can we definitely check that? I know Luke's in the chat that Freddie says is definitely out of contract in the summer. I don't want to be getting my hopes up and then have him dashed by an extension by a 1-year deal that suddenly came out of nowhere. But I'm pretty
sure he's out of contract. So I think he's getting rumoured to go back to Colchester United. And to be honest with you, I think if he goes somewhere else, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and bangs in goals. Because I think if he goes elsewhere, they'll probably play him as a striker and probably play him up as a 4-4-2 with a Daryl Murphy. In a 2. If he goes back to Colchester United, probably score goals there in League 2. So we'll just have to see, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I just see Twitter. I feel sorry for paid money for the last 2 games. Yeah, I did. I've seen every single minute of every single game from pre-season 1 onwards. And I just feel like I need some sort of therapy session. I feel like I need something just to validate that I validate myself. Give me a medal, please. One of those little gold ones from Tesco's. Just give me it so I can have it. Because the only medal we're going to see this year, isn't it? Let's be honest. It is. First, we can have a whip round, podcast whip round. Get them all sent to the team. Fingers in ear medals. Cruncher 76. Remember those days, Mark, where the players sticking fingers in their ears and we all thought, we're winning. It's okay. We're scoring goals. It's not a problem. Crack on.
To be honest with you, that's obviously backfired massively, and I don't feel sorry for any of them. And do you know what? The one that surprised me the most is probably Luke Chambers, if I'm honest. When he did his early on in the season, and I thought, well, that's, coming from the captain of a club who apparently cares about the fans, I was very shocked by that, if I'm honest.
Absolutely. Crunch 76 pod coming through loud and clear in the car for the journey home. We absolutely love that. Crunch, drive safely. Karate and Gov. Do you have Cook's interview on the agenda? Interested to hear other people's opinion? Yes, we do. That is on the agenda. Harrison Smith, one of the clubs in the division that has played every system you can play. This is what he said. So we'll kick it off with the Paul Cook interview today. I'll drop the link in the chat right this second. Anyone wants to come on and have their say. So first of all, we'll go with this. Thanks to Harrison. Appreciate you, brother. We're one of the clubs in the division that has played every system you can play in football in pursuit of success. Eventually, it comes down to a caliber of player in your club. What did you take from that when you read that this morning, Amy?
Well, my first thought was I could hear your voice in my ears saying it's there's no point. It doesn't matter what formation you play if the players are shit. But I've been defending for a while, saying that I felt it was Lambert's formation and that he wasn't putting them in the right place. But we have Cook's absolutely bang on, isn't he? We've tried different things. Perhaps it's the lack of consistency. Still, even under Cook, we've got a lot of changes every game, which is driving me potty. But then I can also see the argument of actually we kind of need to see everybody ready for next year, like to see who's worth keeping and who will be part of next season. So I get that. But for me, I just think I'm kind of glad he can see it and that he hasn't come out and said, no, we've got amazing players, because I think we'd all just be screaming bullshit then, wouldn't we?
How about yourself, Mark? What do you take from that?
I think the good thing with Paul Cook is that he comes out with a lot of positivity in his interviews, whereas Paul Lambert was very morose towards the end. But at the same time, this is a ship full of dead wood and players that don't need to be here anymore, past regimes, whatever you want to call it. And we need to move on. And as soon as we can get rid of that kind of dead wood, then the better it is for this club, better for the takeover, for the future, and so on. So yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, he didn't do the post-match press conference after MK Dons, which sparked all the in the know accounts with wild rumor that he was leaving, resigning, and that it would be announced in the coming days, hours, what have you. Before I come on to just that, because he was asked about not doing press, as you can imagine, were you at any point over the weekend concerned, that either of you, that Mr. Cook was about to resign?
Not for me, no. I think O'Leary came out the other day, didn't he, and said that he was the man, he was his first choice for them. Obviously,
and
Evans was choice as well. So. It didn't faze me at all. I think at the end of the day, he wanted that day, the Friday, before the game, to just speak to his players, get them ready for the game and everything else. Didn't work, mind you, because we were shit. But the Saturday, the game day afterwards, the post-match interview, didn't want to come out. Again, probably locked the players in the changing room and hopefully had a massive go at them and gave them a bit of a kick up the arse. But
for sure,
I don't know. It's a difficult one. But for me, it was never a question for me.
And I'd rather he was doing that than feeling forced to come out and say the same old thing in a press conference. I'd much rather he was working on the team. Also, I think Matt Stannard said it on Saturday when you guys were talking about it. I think he hit the nail on the head. We've all been laughing at his voice changing interview this week because he had a sore throat. And if you listen to today's interview, you can hear his voice is still croaky. It might just be that he was losing his voice after the game, because we've seen that he does like to shout at the players.
Answered as to why he didn't do it. I first of all, I can see why maybe he would want to take some time. He's just come from a situation with Wigan where we all know the issues Wigan had as a football club and the ownership there or what have you. So anytime the owner does change, maybe you need to take a step back, just have a conversation with O'Leary, whoever, behind the scenes. Maybe that's what he was doing Friday instead, having a conversation. I don't know. That's not anything I've been told. But yes, he was their first choice. Was their only choice, I believe. He says this. I'm not happy because I watch a team who can't score, doesn't win enough. I'm very, very much far from happy, but apart from being unhappy with that, I'm quite happy. So really, it sounds like what could he come out and say any different to what he said the last couple of weeks without sort of making himself appear silly in a way?
Well, to be honest, I think he's speaking on behalf of all the fans, isn't he? I mean, he's speaking on behalf of that. He's not happy at all with how we're playing and how the team's set up and everything else. He can't really do too much in the way of it because he hasn't got a window. He can't make transfers or anything like that. But, we are also very happy because we've got a takeover and we've got a bit of a strategy. We've got a bit of a future, which none of that we had under Evans, unfortunately.
Absolutely, Amy. Just to go further, I mean, the reality is the games have taken on the same sort of pattern that I can only say negative things towards the players. And that's not something I want to do.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. It should be, it'd be terrible man management if he came onto a post-match conference and started slagging the players off. That's not the right way to do it. I think it's sensible what he's done, to be honest. I think it's fair. I think it was Nydam he was talking about. He seems really keen on Nydam, doesn't he? So that was nice to pick up on. He said something about the kid's got the passion and the drive that you really want to see in the players, and also that quality too. And I was like, yeah, are you thinking he's got the passion and the drive that the other players haven't? Is that why he's been given that chance now? Because he's out there proving himself, which however many of them there is in the squad, that all of them should be doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you excited to see Nydam, Tux?
Yeah, well, we haven't really seen too much of him because before his injury, I mean, I think he played that season, didn't he? And then he went out on loan and whatever else, and obviously got injured because I think he was going to play left back, weren't he, that season, as opposed to being in midfield. But whatever position he plays, left wing back or central midfield, wherever he plays, I think he is a good player. And he came through at the same sort of time as what Dazelle was coming through, Wolfenden. I remember that pre-season against West Ham when all of the players were playing, and we actually played very well against West Ham. And we thought that was a sign of the times under Hurst, but yeah, it didn't work. But yeah, good to see Nydam back, and obviously it was a really bad injury, so it's really good to see him back.
Yeah, it is. I'd like to see him get some minutes heading towards the end of the season, just so we can see what we've got in him, if anything, with some investment coming into the football club, etc. It's vital we see those people. I'll bring Mr. Perry in, our resident Jimmy Bullard. Jimmy, a question I've got to put to yourself before you have your say is he said it didn't. He said this team doesn't reflect me whatsoever, or something towards those lines. What are your thoughts on that? Does this team reflect Paul Cook?
No, not at all. He said it doesn't reflect him and it doesn't reflect the club, and it doesn't. He knows the club deserves better, the fans deserve better, they expect better, he expects better, and they are not showing up and delivering it. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what you do in training, doesn't matter what you do. Well, you go into that on social media. It matters what you get paid for, what you do on the pitch on a Saturday or a Tuesday, and they're not doing it. They can look like messy on training. That counts for nothing. You're paid for what you do on the pitch. It's a results business. Paul Cook will live and die by results. Yeah, and if the players aren't delivering the results, he notices that and he says, "Look," which is why he said, "If you don't perform, the door's there. You're going to leave." And that sort of motivation, it's not a threat. It's just he's trying to be motivated. Look, you can have a shot. You've still got a chance, but you've got to show me you're capable. And I just honestly don't think none of them are capable.
No,
I really don't.
As Mike D said, he's thrown them under the bus, but dragged them out before they got run over. Good management. Did you listen? Well, you didn't. You can't listen, sadly. But did you keep up to date with it live as it was coming in? Were you at any point concerned he was going to say early doors, "Look, guys, this is my last press conference. I'm resigning"? Were you concerned at all?
I heard that bit. when I listened to the Kings of Anglia thing, and they were going on about what happened to him at Wigan, and that made me think. It did, because he did get screwed at Wigan. A guy coming in, he passed the owner's director's test and all that. And this guy really was not, he didn't have any money at all. So seriously, the EFL failed. I think there's going to be an investigation or something like that. But, so he had been screwed before. So it would make you think, So I had thoughts that, maybe if he came under one circumstance and then another circumstance happened, that he might change his mind and think, well, this isn't what I came in for. But I always thought it was unlikely, because if they turn around and say, like, you were name on my list and they've got money. I don't know any managers who would just turn around and say, well, I'm going to leave them. I've never heard of it before, where a manager would quit when they're being told he can spend money. I've never heard that before. Usually it's when, well, you're not got a pot to pick, and they say, well, I'm going then,
Yeah, you've never heard of that, particularly, Mark, when they're so open as O'Leary was day one when he was questioned. Paul Cook. There was no shy. There was no double answer. It was, he's our man.
Yeah. I think everyone thought anyway that he would probably be the man of choice for the new owners. But I mean, when you look at it, it was only really out of Cook and Cowley, weren't it? If I'm honest. So yeah, he was always going to be number one, and for me, as I said earlier, there was no doubt that he was going to be here today. So yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't have it. Anything else, Stephen?
Yeah, one thing I want to say is, like, I know there's talks about lots of money behind us, but that we're not going to be doing that. Yeah, there's a lot of free transfers out there who we can invest some good money in wage-wise.
I have got that. Yeah, I have got stuff to say about that.
Let's
I have
just stop the thingies because it looks silly.
I've got an update on that following a couple of tweets over the last 24 hours.
A bit more wages to get a bit more quality.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, as always, I love you. Appreciate it. I'm bringing Ben. Ben, welcome in, my man. Ben, his Twitter is interesting. Adams. It certainly is. Ben, but we're on Paul Cook at the moment. What are your thoughts from today's press conference? Let us know.
I'm really happy. I've kind of breathed a bit of a sigh of relief, actually, because if there's one team who can, excommunicate himself with a brand new fantastic manager, 9 games after appointing him, it's us. And Christ knows we have form. I think is this going to be a Paul Hurst Mark II. So I'm really, really happy that that's not the case. And I really did breathe a huge sigh of relief. And I really like the things he was saying as well. And as you were just saying there, how we are now, how we're playing, who we have, is not Ipswich Town. The only thing I just don't understand, and if you're, I said it the other day, if you're a squad player, if you're a player like, I don't know, Desire or Sears or Bishop would be a good example. You've got 7 games left to earn a contract at the start of something really big. So I'm thinking, if that was me, okay, and I had underperformed a bit, I will be doing double, triple training sessions. I'll be there an hour early, an hour late. I'll be going to Paul when I feel say, Paul, really want to start this weekend, want to be a part of this. You tell me what I've got to do. What have I got to do? Where do you want me? I'm in that gym right now. Do you want me in the gym? I'll be in there 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the players, there's so many kind of, he's laid the gauntlet down. He's tried the formations. He's done everything he can, and it just hasn't gotten any better. And it absolutely perplexes me on like a human level that this is, the next stop for a lot of these players is going to be League Two. It's going to be Harrow. It's going to be Stockport. It's going to be Morecambe. This is where a lot of these players are going. So go and earn your £600 a week there, and try and make ends meet. Or you could have the 7 games of your absolute lifetime, and you could get a new contract, go and earn your 4 or 5 grand a week, be a part of something huge. On a human level, I think Paul's thinking, what more have I actually got to do? But in a good way, it tells him everything he needs to know. And I think the changes are not going to be quite as dramatic as what everyone's saying. I don't think that tweet helped today of, we've got 18 billion and 700 million in cash. It's great to read because it's so different from what we used to.
Onto that, yeah.
We are coming on to that. But yeah, on a game by game level. So we've got a game tomorrow night, a game that on paper we should win. But how many times have you said that before? These players, they ought to be start your preparations right now. Have a great game. When Paul Cook sits down with 16 contracts lined on his desk, when he picks up yours, think, actually, I've seen a lot of improvement. I've seen a bit of desire.
Yeah.
I want to keep him. I want to see what he's about. Why not? Jesus Christ, why not? Ugh.
Dinosaur Chief, bin them all, and then Paul Cook will build a new team. He also said this: you either deliver or you leave. I'll ask all of your thoughts on that. I'll start with you, Amy. You either deliver or you leave.
That's almost a bit. It's almost a shame Paul Lambert didn't say it 3 years ago, isn't it?
Amen.
Different circumstances.
None of them have. Of course, but none of them have really shown any more desire or drive since the relegation, have they? And we were all so behind them back then. So it's frustrating. I'm not really sure what more we can do with these players. So absolutely, new era. And as much, I think I say it often enough. I'm a big Luke Chambers fan. But I'm ready to accept that actually I think the best thing for this team is to completely move on from that generation of players. We have people like Nydam. We have people...
She's seen the lights.
I'm there now.
That's a great point you say about Chambers, because it's not just about ability. And it's the oldest debate we have. We have it every year. It's almost boring now. But for Chambers, I think moving on from him would be as symbolic as it would be practical.
Agree.
It's a true move forward rather than just a tactical one, or because he's now, he's on the swan song, well, past the swan song of his career. If you want to put a statement of intent and you want to say no one's safe, and if you are not at that level, you do not play. Chambers has to start, and I've criticised Chambers a lot. I won't criticise the type of man he is because I think he represents the club really well, and his desire and his passion. But I do think for someone who has lost that ability that he probably had 4 years ago, he has a hell of a lot of power and he has a hell of a lot of influence.
Yes.
And that already cost one manager his job. And I think also with having so many, kids go and stay in his house, that's influence and that's power. And when you're doing a paradigm power shift, that's the thing you need to exercise out. So it wouldn't be for a negative reason to take Chambers out. It's symbolic that this is a new era. That bit has stopped, and now this thing will start. The question is, of course, who is captain? And you've got two options. You go and buy one, and that will cost money.
You would buy one. You would buy one because there's no way you would. I don't think Downs has got the discipline, Mark. Do you?
No, he hasn't got the fitness. Forget the discipline. He hasn't got the fitness. He won't play enough.
He's not got the. For me, Downs hasn't got the. I don't think he can lead a team just yet.
Okay.
And I think he's too hot-headed. And I agree with what Mike was saying. I think you probably would go out and buy one, and it would probably be a player that probably Cook has trusted from his days elsewhere, and probably bring in as a captain. I would imagine. So yeah.
And what do you make of Paul Cook's comment? You either play. Or you leave, or whatever it was I just said a second ago.
Who's that to me?
Yeah, yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they've got to go, really, haven't they? I mean, if you want to play and you want to fight for this club, then show it. It really doesn't take a lot. Even if it's not, everyone has their off days, don't they? But you've got to put the hard yards in, and I don't think these players are at the moment. I don't know why, because they've got a manager that is a manager that you put your arm around you and would actually, game management and all that type of thing, that man management as well. And they're not providing for him, and I don't understand why. I could understand it under Lambert because he hasn't got a clue, but Cook has actually got something about him, so I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's baffling as Ben says that these players perhaps I just think they're playing to the where they are. They are what they are. And as Paul Cook kind of said, he didn't say it, but we're a bit like Ronsil. We are what we are. Understand the team. We're dedicated. We're hard work. We're professional. We're in a lot of games. We're never sort of blown away. But don't expect us to blow teams away, and don't expect us to win games comfortably.
At the end of the day, Cook has always said that football isn't played on paper. It's played on grass, and we've stuck up for these players for God knows how long, saying that they're a great side, great players, great individually. We started the 2 seasons off, like a house on fire, but we never continue it. And it's a case of that. I don't think we have the mentality there, and that comes from the top. If you're not a club that wants to win from the very grassroots level of young players, that doesn't transform into the first team. These players that are coming through the academy now, if they're not taught to win, they won't do it in the first team. And it's not just for us. It's when they go on to their other careers as well. They won't be taught how to win.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't argue with that. Ben, as always, I love you, buddy. Look after yourself. Good to see you. Hope to see you again very, very soon. Microphone's always open to you. Very knowledgeable guy. Adam Flat says, what type of grass? Lee, is that you? Is that you, Lee? Are you still looking at the grass control at Pullman Road? So let's move it on now from Paul Cook to let's go with that tweet, shall we? The tweet that sent the cat amongst the pigeons. Arizona State Punch and Pot PRS Mark Steed tweeting the size of what is at stake. I'm sure we've all seen the tweet. I'm not quite sure. I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you what I've been speaking. I'm not quite sure what the reaction was in the consortium, as it were, at that. But I have been asked to stress, and it is to stress. Please communicate to the crowd that the 700 million number is meant to provide a sense of how large an institution we are, and not, capital letters, not the potential budget for Ipswich. If we spend that much, something's gone horribly wrong or really right. So that's not Burnham 50s, Mark.
Well, to be honest, I read that and I thought it was a load of old horseshit. But from what you're saying, might be true.
I'm just passing on the messages as I get them. To be honest with you, 30, I think it was 30 billion in assets, 700 million cash across the portfolio is what he said. Mark Steed tweeted that out. Look, listen, I've been very excited for a long time about this takeover. I've been bounced up. I've gone from this team is crap to bouncing up and down about promotion and how important it is. There's a reason for that. Okay, I've been talking to people and I've been told things that are going to happen. Told the vision.
Who have you been talking to them, Martin? That's what we want to know. It's a big question that everyone wants to know.
Hey, I can't confirm. My sources,
Who's your sources? Is it tomato ketchup?
No, it's Heinz. It's a mayonnaise, actually. I'm more of a mayonnaise person, if I'm honest. But look, I was told this vision. And one of the first questions as a fan you ask when you're on the telephone to somebody is, how much money are we talking then? It's just natural, right? It's the first conversation. And the figure I got back was quite good. Quite substantial, I think Michael Leary called it on Friday.
Yeah.
So it is good news. But to anyone to think we're going to go at 700 million quid and just spunk it up a wall, no, that's not the case. Reggae sauce. Never tried it. Never tried reggae sauce. I'm a big aubergine pickle fan. Big aubergine pickle. Mix it with mango chutney. You're onto a winner. But when you see a tweet like that, Amy, what do you think about this takeover and the direction of the football club? You think what I think, then? Yeah, you're like this.
Well, my first thought was, oh dear, that's going to blow. That's going to send people absolutely doolally, which of course it did. I do actually think what he then went on to say about it being just sort of like trying to explain, put things into context, I think is what he said. And that I think that was totally fair and actually quite nice to have somebody talk about that side of things, because Evans obviously has kept that all very close to his chest. Although I think in the East Anglian, they were saying that he's the latest rich list, he was worth about 700 mil. So there's I don't understand all the money figures, but anyway, I thought that Mark was very sensible. What I really liked is he carried on talking to fans who were responding, and one of the responses he said, I wrote down because I really liked it: no amount of money will save you from a bad idea. I was like, yes, I've been saying this for so long. Rather nastily, I laugh at Derby. I love that they are doing so terribly because they've just thrown money after money after money because they think that's the only way out of the league, and it isn't. It takes so much more than that. And that was what we proved the year that we got into the playoffs off what was it, £110,000 team. It was ridiculous because actually it takes a lot more than just throwing the pounds at them. So it's nice to see our owners say, they're not coming in saying we're going to be your saviors, are they? They're like, right, this is our journey. This is where we start. This is where we go from here. And they just seem sensible. And of course, they've already got the track record with the Phoenix Rising, which is a bit reassuring as well. But it just feels to me, it feels reassuring seeing somebody so high up talking and caring about Ipswich on social media, which we haven't seen in Evans, and we don't see it in managers or anything like that, do we? We literally rely on the players who are
really
law unto themselves. So
they've cared from the very first call. They really, without a doubt. I don't know, Mark. When I read it, I was like, I bet Darren McAnthony suddenly sat up very bolt upright in bed.
But he's hating it.
Ipswich have how much? They want who? Well, had a note onto that buzzer. It just,
That's true.
LinkedIn and Twitter and all those sorts of social media accounts, Mark, they're used by professional people. And Stuart Watson grabbed hold of it straight away. And, it's now public knowledge, or that figure was. What did you think sitting there? I mean, you just said you thought it was bullshit, but did you really? And why did you think it was bullshit?
Yeah, just because you don't ever hear that kind of those comments, especially on Twitter, like you're just saying there. But I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to get real. We are in League One. We're in League One for a reason, because we're a poorly run club. We were a poorly run club. We're a poorly run team, and poor players. But it's like Amy was saying, like, you can't just throw money at things. You've got to have that plan and that strategy. And that's what I've kept saying all along, that, Marcus Evans never had that plan and that strategy to get us out of this league. It was a 5-year plan or whatever it was. But really, all he was bothered about was season ticket sales. That's all he was bothered about. And for me, the passion went, as soon as he reared his face, if I'm honest, because he knew he had to do something about it. and just face up to it. And that was obviously when we got relegated. But yeah, it's interesting times, and we'll see things happen. But we are in League One. That's what people have not got to forget at the end of the day, that we are in League One. We're not going to have so much money thrown at it, because who wants to come to League One? Those top players aren't always going to want to come to League One. They were going to go to the Championship, like Derby have just been taken over again. They're going to want to go to places like Derby and things like that. Ipswich, as much as it's close to London, it's we can probably pinch the youngsters from Arsenal and Tottenham and everything else. It's not the most desirable place to ever be, is it? That's the thing.
No.
And football is all about location as well. So
yeah. And we've struggled with that for a while, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've struggled with players wanting to be in Ipswich. I remember, like in the Jimmy Bullard days, that was a real issue. The players just didn't. People just.
I'm
didn't
sorry.
want to come to
That's
Ipswich,
not
which I
paying
don't.
the going rate. That's not going. If you're paying the going rate, players want to play for you. Like, and if you've got to pay, you've got to pay a premium.
You've got to think about what they do in their life, though. I mean, where are they going? Where are they going home afterwards? So are they near their family? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? What's happening after football? That's the thing you've got to think about. And for me, Jimmy Bullard, when he was here, that was a real coup for this club to get him on loan, because at the time he was a cracking player. Struggled with injuries and stuff like that, but obviously came here, did well, signed his loan deal and turned to shit. But was that because he wasn't comfortable in Ipswich?
Exactly.
Those are the kind of
You'll
questions
not
you've got to ask.
find many people who are fonder of Ipswich than me. I'd planned on having my hen do there last year because I love coming down there, but it's not great.
Dog.
My plan was just to be on the waterfront until the pubs closed. I was quite happy because I would have been at the football all day. But anyway, and I love the waterfront, and that's presumably why a lot of the new players all end up there, because it's so beautiful there. But there isn't a lot else, and it isn't easy to get to. It's a bloody pain in the arse to drive down to from the north. My parents used to live in Cambridge. I'd come off the A1 and I was there. My sister lives near Ely. She's a bit closer, and she's out past Soham. Ipswich is so far out, and it's just that bit further for anyone who doesn't come from East Anglia. In fact, I had to explain to people at uni where East Anglia was because nobody knows.
I think as I'd counteract that with more so Mark's point is that look how many times players keep their family here when they move away. I think Daryl Murphy did it. I think Bartos has done it. Like, when you come to live here, and maybe the initial impression is it's not great, but a lot of people keep their families here and they realize it's such a great place, beautiful, great communities. And we're only an hour away from London. So if you're a player that likes to go out and have a drink and do the social side of it, it isn't a million years away. I
think you've got to think about where that player is in his career, though. I mean, you just mentioned there Daryl Murphy and Bart, right? Other than, I know Bart's at Millwall now, and he's obviously kept his family here, but he's not going to move into Millwall, is he?
No. Bye, Bart back.
But it's but it's
Only.
You wonder why we get so many journeyman player, because they're happy to keep their families here. They're happy to get their paycheck. They're probably happy to sit here, in the country, if you will, as opposed to like the city. But if you're a young city boy who wants to be seen and everything else on social media or whatever else, because players do these days, don't they? There's no getting away from that. Ipswich is not cool, is it? So
no. And you were saying Ipswich Town a third tier team. This is why I've been so excited.
Exactly,
I want promotion so badly, because then suddenly you're not a third tier team, you're a second tier team. It's one promotion, and you can just chuck all the resources, whatever they may be, at the job to see where it may be. But let's be honest, pension pot, non-pension pot, doesn't matter what the money's coming through. You want to get to where you want to get to. This is every walk of life. With as little resources that you've allocated to use for the project as possible. Every project wants to come under budget. Fact. So it can be whatever it needs to be. That there's still going to be a plan to it. There's still going to be analytical to it. Moneyball, player trading, whatever it may be. But every project in the world wants to come under budget. If we're reaching 700 million or whatever the figure may be, and when we're not winning the Champions League or even fucking qualifying for the thing, I'd be thinking, well, this is not going well. This is going absolutely because nothing worse though, would there, Amy, than being almost a derby type where you're seeing these sort of Nick Stevens' favourite player, Alex Gilead, spending $2.5 million on Alex Gilead type players. and going nowhere. I mean, nothing
Yeah.
worked, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't spend an awful lot on Norwood, but it was a fair bit. And as much as I actually quite like him since he's come back from injuries, getting there, he's not. You stick him in a team that isn't giving him any service, and he's screwed. You stick him up front on his own, and we're screwed. So it's the building of the whole team, and it's coordinating those signings. It's not making the signings on the last bloody day of the transfer window because you've sold your best player the day before. It's making sure you've got a plan for it all, which hopefully these guys will have, and Paul Cook obviously as well. And I don't particularly blame. No, I do blame Hurst massively for letting all those players go so late on. That was ridiculous. But that was the problem, was not having a plan and having to start from scratch without any kind of structure. Whereas this is the reason why Paul Cook needed to come in now, because he's got now to build up, try and work out, send the scouts out, try and work out on who it is we want. And then at the beginning of the summer, rather than leaving it until August, we can actually start to make some moves, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with your point about the team there, because there's no coincidence that last time we had a spine, and I'm talking about a real spine of the team, and that's what every successful team has, is a spine. Look at any kind of successful team there is at the moment. They've got a spine running through the middle of their team. And the last one we had of that was the 14-15 season. We were in the playoffs because we were consistent.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And it's all boils down to consistency. If you haven't got any consistency, you're fucked.
Yeah. And what it does do is it puts you in a strong position. If you look back over the years of our most famous teams, the one behind you there, Mark, we were younger, so wages and things weren't talked about in our ears because we were kids and we were just playing on the playground, dreaming of being those players. But I don't doubt for a minute, players like Mowbray, Holland, Magilton, McGrill were playing on cheap money. If it was today's football, you'd have said Mowbray's coming down to play for England. There'd have been 2 or 3 clubs available for him. It would have been, can you give him what he needs to come down and play? Yeah, that is now put us back.
The thing is as well, they were hungry. You speak to Jim Magilton; he was in that Southampton side, weren't he? And he wasn't getting played, but he wanted to go out. He wanted to go and play first team football. We don't have players like that. That's out of the game generally now. You don't have that passion as much now because you can go sit on the bench and earn, times that elsewhere. But it's the passion of wanting to play football. Whatever league it is, and he had to drop down a league. Remember, we was in Division 1. He was in the Premier League at the time. He dropped down and even signed for us because he had that ambition for it. So it's ambition, and it's the whole thing there. But for me, it's that spine. It's that spine.
Absolutely. We've got 2 fans wanting to have their say. It's the second. First of all, Ashley Bell. Ipswich and Suffolk as a whole is becoming more fashionable. Lots of celebs are moving to the area, second homes, etc. Specifically, Bury St Edmunds, a bit more out in the countryside. David Hughes. I like your idea of one senior and 1 academy player per position. Yeah, well, you're a third-tier team. That's the way it's got to be. It's how Posh do it. And some will look at Posh and sort of snigger and say, well, they've never gone above the 3rd tier for more than a year, and it's not a model you should look at. But they're always at the top end of the 3rd tier, and for the 2nd season in a row, they're going to be in the playoffs, and we ain't. So
they should have gone up last season. If it wasn't for coronavirus and that stupid bloody points per game thing, they would have been up without a doubt.
Absolutely.
And probably Tony might have stayed there, and they'd probably still be in the Championship riding high. So
that's a great story, that, Mark, because if Tony stays there, where do they end up then? Because goal scorers win you games, and games win you points, and points win you prizes, and who knows? Luke, welcome in. The famous Twee Ipswich Town Football Club, loving the trim. You had a trim?
Yeah. They got done. I queued up ages from barbers. I only had two bloody barbers gone today. On the busiest day of the year.
Wow. How long did you wait?
A good hour, at least an hour.
Mine was 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Anyway, great football club. You love it as much as we all do. What are you thinking at the moment?
So we were discussing this earlier, weren't we? Me and Martin on a call earlier because I'm doing
the database for Football Manager. Yeah.
I should say legally I have to say this. I do work for Football Manager, so I have interests through it. I do legally have to say that. We're doing a database. It's things you do. So I'll make a database. We were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about 700 million. And like you said, we're not going to spend 700 million. They won't even spend 10 million that season. I don't think, because I don't think you have to spend. This league's just shit. let's be quite frank. We're still 2 points off the playoffs, and we are shite. Like, if it doesn't tell you a lot about the quality of its league, I don't know what will. Like, you don't need to spend 10 million to get a good player. You just need to recruit properly and not go for players no one else wants, like Hawkins or.
Yeah, he's got a point there, Mark, because if Evans invested properly in the summer in a striker, say Clark Harris, or a creative player, whichever one you think the team is missing, there could be a completely different story being written about Marcus Evans right now.
Yeah, well, the recruitment for this club has been absolutely shocking for, I don't know, years, probably going on for a decade, probably. And, you know, that 14-15 season again, yes, we did all right because we got some bargains there, maybe some experience where we needed experience, some youth where we need some youth. But at the same time, you're a victim of your own success if you don't actually do anything by either going up or, you know, at least kind of building on that. And we didn't build. Hurst came in and ripped it apart. And that's, unfortunately, that has to be overseen by a person at the top of the club, i.e. Marcus Evans, who completely just let that ride. Paul Hurst is a lot to blame there, but, you know, Marcus Evans should have said, well, no, hang on a minute. You know, why are we ripping up a decent side? Because really, that side, when McCarthy went, it was only, 3 or 4 players from a decent side there, if I'm honest.
Absolutely.
We absolutely were. Larson Torre.
Sorry, on the
Adam
other
Flam.
side of it, if Evans had bought a decent striker last summer, that might well have been enough to get us out of this league because it is awful, but it would not have been enough in the Championship. And I believe, maybe I'm being naive, but I believe the new owners will invest and restart the team properly so that we are looking forward, we are looking ahead. If they really believe we're going to be in the Championship next year, you've got to be thinking about a team that's going to be good enough to then take that step up with maybe a couple of additions, because you can't just replace the whole team again. It needs to be one that's going to keep, you know, like the team that went up into the Premier League. It was a growing team. It was good enough to make that step up with a couple of additions. That's what we need this year. And we didn't have that under Evans because it had slowly declined so much over the years. Yeah,
I think this is the closest we're going to get to it in our lifetime since that time, because if you look at those years, a lot of it wasn't destroying a team, Luke, every single transfer window to fund bringing in what you needed the previous year. If you look at a lot of Evans's mistakes, was you'd get to the end of the season and we'd all sit down, look at that Paul Hurst reign. You'd sit down and you say, well, the new manager could get a really decent tune out of this. You just need this, that, or the other. The problem was, to fund this, that, or the other, every manager, including Mick, would have to rip up what he'd already done, bring in what he thought he needed, and then try and patcher the squad with Larson Torres, Giles Cokes, Tommy Yours. You know, whereas the playoff team was all about, okay, you'll lose Dyer, but you bring in McGrill, you bring in players, you bring in Wrights, bring in players that you didn't have to fit the jigsaw, right?
I don't know. I wasn't born, so.
You weren't born. My days, I thought you were wrong. My mistake.
Sorry.
My mistake. Brilliant.
I wasn't born, so.
Well, I can tell you, Luke, it was a fantastic squad, a brilliant team. It really, truly was. Paul Cook then today says he's got a list that's falling off his desk. If you could list the first 2 things Paul Cook must do this summer, what would they be, Luke? What's the first 2 things he's got to do? What's the first 2 things he's got to do?
Get down to 2. God. I've got to get down to 10.
List what you like.
Well, you need to get rid of a lot of players. A lot of players that aren't up to it. I think that's pretty obvious by now. So you need to get rid of most of the players. I would get rid of all. I would get rid of all of them bar Chambers. I would keep Chambers. We're not going to play every week, but I think he's a good person to have running a club for like ambassador role. So he's not an awful player. He's a good backup player to play 10 games a season.
Yeah.
And so I think secondly, it's hard because in this world of COVID, it's very hard to see. Like, I would say that do some sort of like pre-season tour to bond the players, but we won't be going on a pre-season tour in the summer. I very much doubt. So in the normal world, I would say something like that to bond the players, but
I like it. Luke,
at the moment, looks like that won't happen. So
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But Luke, I really do appreciate it. I like those 2 points. Thanks for coming on. Lee, you're next in a second. First of all, Ryan, sign a striker. Sean Gladden, 2 strikers. Brian Dow, get a goalkeeper. Now, Lee's our last caller before we go on to the AFC Wimbledon very quickly. Bring a goalkeeper in, Lee. Almost like Bartos Bilakowski, my friend.
He's a has-been, isn't he? Eh?
Obviously, he has been. He's walking into our team.
Talk about a rat deserter sinking ship, eh? He was first up the mast and onto the pier, head and gone.
Leave it out.
He gave up.
For those that are not sure,
he was brilliant for 5 years and then he gave up, didn't he?
Let's give some backstory, Lee. Mr. Steed shared a tweet, didn't he, about a goalkeeper making certain number of saves or something along those lines. And,
yes,
and
right.
Lee gave him some background as to our player of the year. And obviously 3 years in a row with Bart. And I said to them both, you need to sign Bartos Bilakowski. First thing, I don't care who you are, how much money you got, you sign Bart. Then the rest is just going to be done. It's fine. And Lee was like, no going back. So that's the backstory of that. I still think you need to sign Bart. I mean, sign Bart, I'll be on board with anything they put forward. Anything. Lee,
Who needs a striker? Don't worry about putting anybody up front. We've got Bart.
Well, Bart's going to want double weight. Bart's going to want double wages because
I need double. I'd pay him triple.
He worked twice as hard as everybody else, didn't he?
That's why he was on so much towards the end, Lee, wasn't it? Because he was on triple the value.
Absolutely.
So, Lee, what do you think of it all? Tell us what your thoughts are, my man.
Well, I mean, I spoke the other day after the game and that, didn't I? So just one more sort of thing I wanted to add, really, was when we were speaking last night, Daryl was on, Daryl who comes on the show.
Yeah,
and
good man,
we were tweeting away, and he sent me this link about the ethos or something at Phoenix Rising. I think it's about a 7-minute video. Really, really good video.
Ooh,
and the insight onto how these guys operate and what they do. And I just wanted to link that into the point about the amount of money that we haven't got. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? People are going to know that we've got money now, whether it's 700 million, 100 million, 10 million, whatever it is, they're going to know what we've got. And the thing is, if you watch the video that's on that Daryl posted, it's almost like the club would be telling the players, well, do you know what? You should be coming to us looking for work. Turn it around. We've spent too many years signing players on past history for money. So they come here for money because they've always had a decent wage, haven't they? Journeyman and that sort of thing. So if we're ever held to ransom, we just turn around and say, okay, here's the deal. If you don't like it, we'll get the person in, we'll get the next person in, because we can afford more players now, or we can shop differently to how we've done before. So it's almost like they're coming to us for a job interview, because if you don't get that culture right and you don't want the players to be there and get on board with what Cook and the team and everything is trying to do, then you don't want those players, do you? And that's the way I see it. So I just think it will be different. The recruitment will be different, and we'll get players in.
But sometimes you've got to go. But sometimes you've got to go backwards to go forwards. Just sometimes you've got to go backwards to go forwards, and that means going back and getting Bart.
Well, Paul Lambert was trying to go backwards to go forwards. Went forward, backwards, sideways, backwards, forwards. Then we didn't get anywhere. We spent more time on our half. But I just think the play. I just think with the recruitment, it's going to be different. And we need a striker, maybe 2. We need a winger, 2 wingers, 3 wingers. We've got to replace that front 4. That front 4 for Cook is our weakest area. If we're going to keep someone like Downs, maybe another holding midfielder, someone who's been around a bit, probably mid to late 20s, box to box, to add a bit more in the midfield. But we need that front 4 needs to be strengthened, because we haven't scored enough goals, have we? It's that simple.
No. That's right. Simple. Lee, as always, appreciate my buddy. Thanks ever so much. Always a pleasure having you on. And he's right, though, guys, and Amy, because we haven't scored enough goals, and goals hide a lot of problems. And if this team we even had 1 goal scorer, it does show you, doesn't it? If you've got a lot of hard-working 50-50 players, Luke Chambers, they're okay for this level, really. It's the fact, if you just put a goal scorer amongst them, they'd look, you'd be running away with it. Paul Lambert was at one point. maybe maybe we're doing a podcast in the future where we're talking about Jeffcott and players like that, Mark, where they've got resale value if they carry on the form they're in. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you look back at Joe Royal's reign, right? We always scored more than the opposition. If that was a 6-4 against Crewe or whatever else, we were always scoring goals, and it didn't matter that our defence was a bit leaky because we could always score goals. And you're only as good as your strikers at the end of the day. And currently, our strikers are either injured, not on form, and this is where we are at the moment. And it's been a culmination of those things, really. So yeah, we do need to invest in some strikers, but I mean, everyone wants a 20-goal season striker, don't they? So
absolutely, and they cost the most amount of money. Hence why when you buy right back in the actual only purchase, you're bound to be in trouble sooner or later. Anyway, AFC Wimbledon tomorrow. Norwood back in the squad. Kane Vincent Young back in the squad. We haven't touched on that because the GOAT that is Colin Plum said, no, leave that alone, Gov. We don't want to talk about that tit tonight. So I've left it. But tomorrow night, what do you expect? Do you expect a same 11 as Saturday? Do you expect Norwood to come back into the side? Amy, kick us off. What do you think for tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah, I would have thought so, given Cook's come away from Saturday rightly saying the problem is we can't score. So absolutely, we need him on from the start, in my opinion. Possibly up front on his own. I don't know who this person is who's come on this show. I don't know why I'm saying all these things I've been saying to up front for ages, but I think our best. I don't know where old me has gone. I think our best performances have been with him up front on his own, haven't they? And the sort of weird formation that they do behind that. So that's I would say bring Norwood in. Hopefully we'll get to see a bit of KVY as well. It's exciting that he's back again. Hopefully. Yeah,
he's put pressure on himself a little bit, Mark Norwood, with those comments today, whether they're aimed at anybody particular. But anytime you create noise, you do put pressure on yourself. Would you see him come back into 11?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to win games and we need to score goals. And I don't care what anyone says, we're a much better side with Norwood in the team. For me, he's our best striker that we've got at the club. He gives something different to what the others do. He uses strength. He uses a little bit of pace in there as well, and he actually knows where the goal is. So it's like I said at the beginning of the programme. It's his chance late on at the weekend. Norwood gets on that all day long. But obviously with regards to his little tweet about the commentary sort of stuff, we all know he's an outspoken individual. I don't think he really said anything that wrong, if I'm honest. The fans are sitting there always saying that Mick Mills is boring to listen to, but that's not saying that we think he's anything less in the terms of that he's obviously represented this club because he's a legend. But some people aren't just made to be a commentator at the end of the day. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, Ashley Bell, in a week where Luke Thomas and Mark Merson have come out and said they're struggling with what the Norwood doing experiments on our fans and posting motivational quotes to get hooks. Matthew Bruce, did we like the picture of Cook, Robertson, Clue at the pub tonight? Yeah, I've not really seen it. I've been live most of the night. You know me, Martin, Governor, live Lambert. Are we going to win tomorrow night? I'm not going to be writing a really positive column this week and writing about Charlton being a huge game and the ticket on Saturday being huge, where you could beat Charlton, really regain some lost ground. Because 10 games to go, people said 7 wins were needed. I actually think 3 or 4 are going to get you in this shithole or this shit heap of playoffs. What do you two think? Daniel Bonner says 0-0. Daniel, if it's 0-0 tomorrow, either I really hope we've had lots of shots on target, or I really want to just never watch Ipswich Town again, because 3 0-0s in a row would just it'd end me. It would end me. Mark, surely not. Surely not.
I don't know. I mean, you never know what you get with this side. I mean, yes, we don't score goals, but sometimes we can play quite well, but not score a lot of goals, if that makes sense. So we just need to get goals. I don't care how we get them. We just need to score goals for a confidence more than anything, if I'm honest. But, again, Cook will say that, games aren't played on paper, they're played on the pitch. And, at the end of the day, this is not an easy run-in. I don't care what anyone keeps saying. They keep saying that, oh, well, we're not playing Peterborough, we're not playing X, Y, and Z. We're not playing bloody Sunderland or whatever. But you look at Shrewsbury, look at Wimbledon, you look at Northampton. They're all in a relegation battle. They've got something to play for.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me that's not going to be an easy game. That's a difficult game because they've got something to play for. Quite frankly, they've got more to play for than what we probably have, because they've probably got more desire to stay in this league than we have to get bloody promoted.
Yeah, there's actually not a lot of teams in this league. I think Paul Good might have said it himself, that haven't got a lot to play for, is there? There's no sort of traditional flip-flop wearing mid-table teams this year. Like a lot of tables like we have
it's
been.
A poor league. It's such a poor standard of league. That's why. And you know, we should not be anywhere near those playoffs at all, without a doubt. But why are we there? Because the standard of the league is shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why.
And we're if that's shit and we're shit, then we're shitter. Amy, tomorrow, please don't tell me 0-0, please.
I was totally going to say it just to wind you up. I would like to think we'll keep another clean sheet. The defence seem to be on a roll at the moment, making good impressions everywhere. Everything I've been reading about the game today has been defence is good, defence was good, defence are doing well. So I would like to think we'll keep a clean sheet. Somebody was just saying, well, in fact, you just said it, didn't you, that Norz has kind of put himself under a bit of pressure with what he's been saying. And I responded to somebody's tweet today about him, the best comeback that he can give, rather than arguing with our fans on Twitter, is to go on Score. Yeah. Because it will shut everybody up, and it's you can't say fairer than that. But he's doing his job, so I would like to see him score. For me, it'll be a 1-0 shithouse grab and go kind of thing. I reckon. Because we don't do anything else, do we? But it'll be an early goal, and then we'll just sit back and be biting our nails for the rest of the game, which is possibly worse than a 0-0. It'll be that. Who was it the other day that we beat, and it was like, the 2-1 game. Yes, where it was just like it felt awful because we were terrible, and the whole game that'll be what it is. It'll just be really dire, but we'll cling on to it. Is it home or away? I don't even know.
It's away. I did the Suffolk News podcast today, and I said, we've not actually played well in 2.5 games, because that Bristol Rovers game, we won it inside the first 20-30 minutes. After that, we played absolutely dog shit. So we've not played well since Good Friday lunchtime. It's been crap. This is not the land of milk and honey that I was promised, Matt Phillips. 3-1 Lee Anderson, 2-0 Mark Dowling. Oh, just those two scorelines just get me excited because there's goals. That puts my my pound per goal ratio up a little bit. 1-1 Mark Bliss. Daniel Barnard. Dazelle own goal tomorrow. Imagine for a 1-0 loss. Colin Plum. We all love the club. We must all keep believing. Absolutely. But, the new guys coming in, all about culture, all about dressing room, and all about, that sort of thing, and togetherness. There will come a conversation towards the end of the season where actions like Norwood's are debated on podcasts, because is that culture that maybe the club want? Look, guys, this is our journey, except if you live in your mum's back bedroom or something along those lines. It doesn't fit, does it? Quite how, I don't know.
My feeling on it is you would never get somebody like Luke Chambers, Matt Holland, Scousy.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Oh yeah, for yesterday. Oh, bless him. He's about 10 years older than me, so every time he hits a big number, I'm like, oh god, that's me soon. Bless him. He's got lots of lovely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is it? Sorry, that sounded.
He'll probably have the same reaction. I remember talking to him about it when I met him once. But yeah, he's. You wouldn't ever see him posting a tweet just to wind people up. Did you watch The Circle?
No.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. But the people you hated on that were the ones that were posting things just to get a reaction, and that's what he's doing now. Really, what we should be doing is just ignoring it, but we won't. Our fan base won't. People like reacting. They like the drama, and they like the back and forth of it, the banter. If I said on the show, I think I commented on Sunday when you were talking about it yesterday, it's a case of maturity. 10 years ago, I was the one arguing and winding people up on Twitter. I've grown up and frankly don't have the time for it anymore. Norz has clearly got the time for it at the moment. It's like maybe he's just sat on the bus on the way to Wimbledon or whatever. So he needs to grow up. And I think you may have hit the nail on the head that the new owners may not want somebody like that. It's all well and good having the cute little
Who
gifts
knows?
and stuff when you score a goal and you're doing your WWE celebrations. It's all nice, but you've got to back it up with a sort of responsible, like a genuine personality. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to be a genuine good guy to be part of this club.
I don't think James Norwood is a happy person, if I'm honest. I don't think. I think he struggles a lot with his. I imagine he's.
Wait. Now you can.
No,
You can.
He's the thing is that he's just. I think he spends a lot of time on his own in. Whether it's his own house, I'm not sure, but I think he lives in Bury St Edmunds or wherever he lives, and I think he's quite a recluse, I suppose. And he posts pictures of his dogs and things like that, and I think he outwardly says that he's he likes dogs more than people. But if he's sitting there trying to get that reaction on social media, then I think that says a lot more about the situation for him at the actual club, I think. And he's obviously very happy at Tranmere, so
What I will say,
sorry, just to coming across. Go on.
Just, you can come back on that point just very quickly. I just wanted to quickly point out that yes, this evening James Norwood is going to be doing a charity thing with the Kevin Beattie Foundation, a goal challenge, I believe, where they'll sponsor James for every goal he scores. They'll pay £10 towards a charity of Norwood's choice. I believe James Norwood has tripled that. So if he scores, he'll pay £30. They'll pay 10. Yeah, very similar to something we did under Cobbled Massive. Big shout out. Called Massive, or it might have been Norwood then as well.
I think it was Norwood last season, wasn't it? Yeah.
So big shout out to James, just to bring a bit of balance. That is a great thing. That is culture that anybody wants to see, and we love it. So well done, James. Sorry, Amy, come back to that point.
No, I think that's proof that it's. He doesn't seem to be an arrogant, nasty person. He just seems to be a little bit irresponsible on social media. I think that you have probably hit the nail on the head, Mark, but I think it's what came across to me from the messages he was putting, the memes, the positive quotes and stuff like that. What came across to me was he was basically saying, don't judge other people. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That is what it was. And then from the other side of it, when you're the one getting the grief, you have to tell yourself they do not know you. And as somebody who has had a lot of grief, that's the mindset I've had to get myself into. And it's taken me a lot to be able to just say, do you know what? They don't know anything about me. They don't know who I am. They've never met me in person. They don't know the story behind the thing that I tweeted out yesterday, the video that I recorded. So it's just a case of, for me, actually, I said to you in the group chat, I agree with what he's saying in terms of, do you know what? You do you, I'll do me. That's what it is. What I don't agree with is him purposefully putting out tweets to get a reaction. But I think Mark's hit the nail on the head. You usually find when someone's being a dick on social media, it's something that's going on in their own personal lives, not necessarily that there are a few out there that are just twats, but for the vast majority of it, there's something else that we don't know about. So I just think, do you know what? I'd rather just get behind him on the pitch and leave him to it on social media.
At the end of the day, if it is the case of what I've just said, that the club need to help him there. It's not just with Norwood, but any kind of player that might feel that they're a little bit alone or whatever else. And mental health needs to be spoken about at the end of the day.
100%.
So it's the club need to obviously see that and make sure that he's okay, and any other player that's okay.
Absolutely. Coming up tomorrow, match day ticket, 6 p.m. we go live because it's a 6:30 kickoff. Madness. Myself, Steve, and Neil. Then on Thursday, it's myself, the Fisherman, and Sid Driver, Blankety Blank, Talking Town champion in the house. One of the things, just to finish, actually, it's been quite funny since doing these shows, is the amount of people that have said, Amy, I blocked you, or you've blocked me, and I don't know what we did or what we said to each other, but can you please unblock me?
Sid Driver.
It's quite funny. That's the way it goes. But yeah, we're back live tomorrow from 6. Mark, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you. I hope to see you again soon. Amy, appreciate you. To those in the chat, thanks ever so much. And we're back tomorrow at 6 with love, with care. Up and down.